What's up, nerds? We're playing miniature war games. So on the table today is the World War II themed bolt action. We're going to be following this 28mm tall American paratrooper Sergeant Nick Jansen. Sergeant Jansen represents one of the 13,000 airborne troops who were the tip of the Allies' invasion of Normandy. In today's scenario, Sergeant Jansen's paratroopers, along with armored support, are tasked with capturing a munitions depot located in the middle of this fictional French village. In opposition are German Grenadiers and artillery who deploy aggressively down the village's main road. The Americans, on the other hand, take a more sweeping approach across the outlying fields. A Chaffee light tank leads the charge, with 1st and 2nd Squad advancing in support. The American commander's plan relies on speed. They have to get across the field as quickly as they can before the German guns open up. But the American movements have been detected. On the opposite side of the stream, an artillery spotter calls every shirtless dude he knows with a passion for greasing big guns. On the next turn, Americans expect a heavy bombardment onto their entire maneuver. While many wargames use a standard you go, I go method, where each player takes turns activating their entire army all at once, bolt action adds an interesting twist of uncertainty. Instead, each unit on the table is assigned an order die of their army's color. All of the order dice in play are placed in a bag and then pulled randomly. Whichever color is drawn, that player chooses which unit is activated, with individual units only activating once per game turn. Luckily for the paratroopers, they seize the initiative and activate first, with the Chaffee light tank surging forward, taking aim at the spotter's position near the trees, and quickly ending the threat of any indirect fire to the paratroopers, which allows the 2nd Squad free rein to move through the fields with Sergeant Jansen's team following closely behind. Wary of the Sherman tanks prowling along the American right, by the end of turn 2, all the Grenadiers are already dismounted from their armored transport. The German infantry move forward in hopes of securing the munitions dump early in the game. Turn 3 begins with the Grenadiers officially taking hold of the objective and opening fire on the 2nd Paratrooper Squad. So you'll start to see these small tokens appear on the table. These pin markers track your unit's morale. Incoming fire will rattle your men and eventually can cause them to panic, fail to act on a turn, or outright flee the battle entirely. The high brick walls might be keeping most of the Germans alive at the center, but they are definitely racking up a debilitating amount of pin markers as both the Sherman and 2nd Squad pour machine gun and rifle fire in their direction. Poking between a hedgerow and a village house, the 2nd Full Grenadier Squad lays down covering fire. Finally, wrapping up the Americans' turn, Sergeant Jansen's squad leaves the stream behind and takes cover behind the Chaffee and farmhouse. The American commander is playing the objective. Losses in the 2nd Squad are acceptable as long as the rest of the American army is able to move forward closer to the depot. The battlefield is primed for an all-out clash as both armies converge on the objective. On the opposite flank is Sergeant Jansen and his men. The German heavy guns have had to adjust their initial game plan. The exploded spotter has limited their vision, and a Sherman moving right in front of them has become a new target. Through repeated and truly spectacular bad rolls, the German 88 will spend the rest of the game completely failing to do anything meaningful to the American armor. The one artillery piece actually threatening the objective, the PaK-40 anti-tank gun, has been patiently waiting in ambush for the last 2 turns. Finally, 2 American tanks roll right in the line of sight of the waiting anti-tank gun, which probably misses the shot. Undamaged and unfazed, both tanks empty their 30 and 50 caliber machine guns into the charging Germans. But having vehicles near the objective is only going to earn the Americans a draw. The village is about to be neck-deep in gray uniforms, so the American commander is going to have to pull his paratroopers out of the fields and get them into the square. Passing an important leadership check allows 2nd Squad to ignore their pin markers and move forward. 2nd Squad takes cover behind the Chaffee and enters capturing range of the supply cache, but unfortunately that exposes them to the automatic fire of the last German squad, which whittles 2 of their numbers, leaving only 6 of the original 12 men alive. At the end of the 4th turn, 2nd Squad is nearly spent. They have little hope of surviving between the 2 Grenadier squads and the charging assault unit. The German assault team continues to advance towards the objective. Now within point-blank range, another 3 members of 2nd Squad are cut down. In a bold and fairly unexpected maneuver, the Sherman tank rolls out from behind cover and physically blocks the larger German squad from reinforcing the weakened ones. With the extra movement required to navigate around the armored obstacle, the squad is only able to bring its light machine gun and a fraction of its other rifle fire to bear on the remnants of 2nd Squad, who promptly duck and dive out of the way, allowing the paratroopers to survive the rest of turn 4. Still at full strength and full morale, Sergeant Jansen and his men have bided their time in the cover of the field, waiting for the perfect moment for the counterattack. And now that the enemy is within 12 inches, they've come to liberate fictional France through close and personal violence. Jansen and his eager men sprint towards the doomed Germans, The combat is short and decisive. The 4 remaining Grenadiers are overwhelmed and completely destroyed. Now both the 1st and 2nd Paratrooper Squad lay claim to the objective, only contested by the heavily pinned German Rifle Squad still hiding in the courtyard. And that unit won't survive long. Sergeant Jansen's killing spree continues as his troopers hurl grenades and pour fire over the brick wall. Likewise, the Sherman's machine guns spit more death at the last surviving German infantrymen. The only real bit of bad luck the paratroopers encounter on turn 6 is with their light tank support. After a bad leadership roll, the crew completely panics. For the first time in the game, Sergeant Jansen's squad comes under fire from their own friendly tank. At the end of the last guaranteed turn of the game, there are only a few German models left on the table, and fewer still who can claim the objective, which is currently contested by the thinnest of margins. As mentioned before, this mission scenario has a random chance of 1 extra turn. A 4 or better means we'll see a turn 7. If the game continues, the Americans will easily sweep the last remaining Grenadiers from the village, and the munitions stored at the depot will be soundly in Allied hands. Unfortunately for the Americans, with a roll of a 1, time is up. The game ends immediately in a draw. Before withdrawing, Jansen at least makes time to quickly set some dynamite, which denies the resources to the enemy as well. By spearheading the attack with armored elements and playing more cautiously with his infantry, the American player was able to minimize the damage done to his important airborne troops, which allowed them to outgun their German counterparts in later turns. Which stands in contrast to the German strategy of a more blitzkrieg-style, quick occupation of the town center. But that gamble just didn't pay off, and when their artillery needed to step up, the dice just would not cooperate. The American tanks were able to move unopposed for the entire game, which allowed Sergeant Jansen and his men to perform exactly the task they were put on the table to do. Their charge into close combat in turn 5 was without a doubt the turning point of the game. The German player's lucky that Sergeant Jansen didn't have more turns to kill the rest of them. But that is what we have on the tabletop today. Thanks for watching. Good game, nerds.